Yes, I have. So do you have this one? It's like, oh, no, tengo con mi foto, si quieres, mira tu foto y me lo pedí.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and start with a quick prayer real quick, and then we're gonna get into all the details. Are you ready?
Right.
Awesome. Dear Lord, we just give you thanks that we woke up this morning, another beautiful day. Thank you for the weather that's starting to warm up and for the opportunity that we have to share and mastermind together to learn about negotiating offers. Lord, I pray that this meeting this morning, this educational time period that we have open minds and open hearts to hear and listen and to learn, Lord. I pray that you increase our business with buyers and sellers, and that we're able to service them and also give you glory during that process. We are excited to be here, and we're excited for what you have for us. In your name we pray.
Amen.
All right, so thank you guys. Let's go ahead and get started with a couple of quick wins. We're gonna move pretty quick today. I have a 10 o'clock meeting, and this class is a little bit shorter than the other ones, so we should be able to get through the material pretty swiftly. Let's start with some quick wins. What are some of your wins that you've had in the last week?
I submitted all.
Let's go. Love it. Okay, and how's that looking so far?
They said they'll have me an answer today, so I submitted a strong offer. Y'all, it's a really great lender, it's a VA loan, so
Nice.
it's fine.
Congratulations, Mike. That's good stuff. What other
And
wins
it's,
there?
it's going to end up coming to be 2 transactions because they're selling the current home to their children, so I'm
Nice.
gonna represent both the buyer and the seller on that transaction. But I gotta get under contract on this one first.
Right. I love it. Awesome. Congrats. What other wins? Yes.
He's interested to be qualified, so.
Yes, a potential buyer. Awesome. Congrats. That's exciting. Anybody else?
I opened it yesterday.
Let's go.
My big win was last Friday when new lead came into my phone in the morning.
Mhm.
When I'm going to in night class, I called him back and he wants to purchase a land. And he wants me to send the offer electronically. I said, you know, I can do that. However, if you never signed a contract before or you don't know what you're signing, I prefer to do that in person and we'll go over to the offer.
I love it.
And he came from Los Angeles. And after we done it, you know, I already bought a piece of land, but the agent didn't explain anything to me. I didn't know what we're saying.
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's awesome.
for me, it was making a difference.
Yeah, for sure. We have a greater purpose than just selling land, selling property. Yeah, that's awesome. Anyone else? Christian, you got any wins?
I would say just, I just noticed myself, I see the scripts paying off, like I
Yeah.
said, so
That's awesome, man.
speaking better with the clients.
Okay, what have you learned so far that you liked?
The objections, the way you can just like it's make it turn it into a yes, so
Uh-huh,
it's like you just ask them, it's like, I know they say yes,
uh-huh.
and then ask them again, and then just like dive into like the actual problem.
Awesome, I love it, I love it. What's up, man? Good morning. All right, cool. And then any ahas from the last class? What ahas you have?
Yesterday for the big aha was like the communication with the leasing agent, learning what is the motivation of the seller, can help us to structure better our offers.
Absolutely. Mhm. Being in communication, understanding where the seller's goals are, very important. I love it. Any other ahas?
Yeah, speaking with the listing agent before submitting the offer.
Yeah.
Making sure exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly, yep. staying in contact with them. Over communication is super important. I know whenever I work with buyer's agent and they're calling me nonstop, I'm thinking like, this person's gonna be on top of it. This person really wants it. Even if it's bugging me, I still take it in a good, positive way. They're really interested. Any other ahas? All right, let's get going. Negotiating is not something to be avoided or feared. It's an everyday part of life. So today we're going to go over negotiations, negotiation and the Y4C2Ts. We already know win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first, commit in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all. Success through others. All right, so we're looking at the path of negotiations. There's two options after an offer is presented. Regardless of whatever side you're on, what is the first option? What is the first path after it gets presented and before it's accepted? I mean, it's right up there. Gloria, what's option one?
Option one is accepted.
Offer accepted, then close. So we know what that looks like. That means you either submitted an offer or you received an offer from one of your listings. And then everything looks good on it. You don't necessarily negotiate and it's a done deal and you go to the accepted and closing table. Now, 99% of the offers that I get, we negotiate. We're always negotiating. At worst case scenario, we're countering to pick the terms. And we also typically put in certain verbiage on every offer, and that's the property sold as is, where is in the current condition. Only any lender required repairs may be considered by the seller, and then we typically cap that off at $300, something like that. So we can set the expectation. So almost every offer, 99 out of 100, we counter. So who can read me option number 2 and explain it?
Offer is either rejected or countered. And then if it's countered, then you will start negotiating.
Yep.
You hope that it will be accepted and work really hard not to have it rejected.
Right. And when we're negotiating, what do we want to do? Like, what does that process look like? What would be a step in negotiation?
Go over the terms on the counter
Go over the terms on the counter with who?
with the buyer first.
The buyer first?
If we're representing the buyer with the buyer,
Yeah.
and it happens to see something like contingency on the loan on appraisal, we
Yeah.
communicate with the lender
Yeah.
to see if removing the appraisal contingency is viable
Yeah.
and possible, and
Yeah. Absolutely. So one, we're gonna verbally go over the counter offer. If it's a counter to our buyer, we're gonna go over it with our buyer and review it. Same thing when we get an offer in. If we're going to counter for a seller, we're gonna review the offer, we're gonna review it with them and verbally discuss. Now, if there's a negotiation in process, we want to counter them back, then we need to have that discussion, 1, with the seller or buyer, and then 2, with the other agent. It's really important that, I think I might be jumping ahead, so I'm gonna go ahead and save that for a little bit later. But we'll get deeper into the negotiation process, and then from that point, your offer is either accepted or rejected, right? Sometimes it's even held as backup. Yes.
Even when the offer is rejected, would you say that is because maybe we as a buyer's agent didn't discuss it fully with the listing agent as to what they wanted and all that, so that we can make sure that it's either countered or accepted?
Yep.
Now, the wording that you just said, you always put it on the remarks.
Yeah, I put it in the counter offers. If I'm the listing agent, yeah. Property sold as is, whereas in the current condition, only any lender required repairs may be considered by the seller up to $1 amount. And most of the time, if we put a dollar amount, like $300, we usually are ending up to go even higher than that. But we want to set the expectation that we're not fixing up this place. You signed off on it. Right? So even though it's already in the offer,
Sorry,
it's already in the purchase agreement, I reiterate it on the counter every time, and I select service. So, to answer your question, there's a lot of reasons that an offer can be rejected. And one of those reasons could be a multiple offer scenario. In a multiple offer scenario, we want to find out, where do we need to be? What is important to the seller? And you guys talked about this, it sounds like yesterday, where you're talking to the other agent saying, what's important to the seller about the offer? What terms do they need? What's their motivation? Where are they moving to? Why are they going there? Right? These are all important key factors when negotiating. The more we know about the other side, the better we can make our offer. Does that make sense? Awesome.
We wanna find some listening agents that are like too cautious. They don't wanna disclose too much information about the seller because they don't want to put the seller not in the best position, because you know that he's in a hurry, that he needs to move a lot by extent to take advantage of that. I say, okay,
Right, so that's why you really want to take a moment to try to connect with the listing agent or the buyer's agent. Right, so one of the things that you're doing is you're trying to build rapport and connect and build a relationship with the other side. Because they're way more likely to help you or give you information if they know you, like you, and trust you. Right, so what does that look like? Right, so let's say I'm a listing agent. I got an offer from, let's just say Gloria, since we've already been talking. I got an offer from you, and now I need information about your buyer, right? So I'm gonna call you, ring ring.
hello.
Hey, Gloria, how you doing?
Dije que estaba en el teléfono y estornudó, no puedo
Hi,
creer.
hi, good to talk to you. Always answer your phone. I love it, and you have great energy this morning.
Nah,
Qué grande.
Thank you.
likewise,
You already had your coffee?
I am taking my coffee now. Coffee that you have a great news of.
Comments is live.
Always, yeah. I
Puedes
noticed
bajar a
that,
negociar.
you guys were asking for
I didn't hear
45
anything on
day
that, right?
escrow.
This is what I
And,
told you.
it's FHA. We do have a lot of interest in the home. I was wondering, what flexibility does your buyer have?
Okay, regarding the 45 days escrow, he just don't wanna extend, ask for an extension. However, we can close as soon as the seller is ready to close. We can negotiate with the lender to see how we can put a rush on the file. Already
Okay.
have my conversation with the lender, all the possibilities, but yes, so the seller doesn't feel pressure that they need to rush, because
Now, if they need longer period of time, is there a little bit of flexibility on the price or the closing costs?
it depends how much is, but, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I was really showing you is how to quickly build a little bit of rapport, right? John Maxwell talks about, I think it's John Maxwell, maybe it's not John Maxwell, no, it's how to win friends and influence people.
Yes, you're not good.
That is John Maxwell? Okay. So he has an analogy about a dog, right? You have a pet. When you come home, that dog's wagging its tail, it's right at the door, it wants you to pet it. You come home and you're like, this dog loves me. And subconsciously, you're gonna be excited to see your dog. You're gonna be excited it feels good to be loved, right? So when we're calling them, I'm excited to talk to them. I'm bringing a compliment, regardless of the situation. She might have said, oh, good morning. I still will say, hey, thank you so much for taking my call. You're always answering your phone. I love agents like that. And I love the fact that it's early in the morning and you still have plenty of energy. Two things are gonna happen. Number one, she's gonna get energy because I just complimented her on the energy. So she's gonna, oh yeah, I have great energy. Right? That's why, like, some of us have kids, we want to compliment them on the things like when I'm stern with my son and he's doing something wrong, instead of saying, you're too shy, I say, you're typically very confident. I'm surprised because it's not like you to be like this. I love your confidence, and I think you can bring it into the situation. right? So I go to a compliment over a negative label on them, right? I don't want to say you're shy. I want to say you're always so confident. This is this is unlike you, right? So that's why we want to end the energy. I say, hey, you have great energy this morning. You always answer your phone when I call. I love that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yes or yes?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Awesome. Okay, so who do we negotiate with? The buyer's agent, the buyer, the buyer's agent, the seller, and the seller's agent, yes?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, common points of negotiation. First one is price and terms. When we're negotiating price, what are we negotiating?
This price.
The purchase price, absolutely. What else? Yeah, we're negotiating compensation. What else?
A closing cost.
Closing cost, absolutely. We are negotiating all these things when it comes to price. The terms, when we're negotiating terms, what are we negotiating? The home warranty could be one, yep.
Title insurance.
Yes, choosing title insurance. What else?
NSC, certifications, it depends. If
Yep.
you're gonna have a well of septic or.
And it's right up there. What else is on there? Right there.
Time.
Time. Time is very important, right? And that's time for contingencies. That's time for closing. Time is very important for a lot of people. How quickly, how long, and what's the time frame of the buyer? What's the time frame of the seller? How do we make it a win-win? And then, of course,
But be proactive.
be proactive. And we're also negotiating what type of financing we're bringing to the table. What type of financing do they need? What type of financing makes it stronger? What's the strongest form of financing or purchasing a home? Cash, right? As long as the cash is there, you can prove there's cash. That's the strongest form of financing. What's the next one? Conventional, well, 20% down. The more percent you have down, the stronger the offer. And then it's FHA, VA, and then of course there's USDA and other things as well. The 3 Ps for negotiating. Number 1 is prepare. Preparation is the key to building confidence and ensuring a smooth negotiating process. Preparation. What's one way we can prepare?
By knowing the terms on the loan, because I have a really understanding the time frame from my lender, how soon he can request the appraisal, how soon we can get it back, and how soon we can remove that contingency. I can better present an offer.
Yep.
Staying that waiting 17 days to remove the appraisal contingency, I can say we can remove the appraisal in 10 days.
If you're representing a buyer, it's also important to read the MLS. Prepare. Know what's important. Build confidence. So we know what needs to be negotiated. Read the agent remarks. What do they want? What do they need, right? A lot of times we're skipping over this, and that should also be done before you even show the house.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? 2, present. Move into the negotiating process by presenting the offer. How do we present an offer?
But not just we sell the property, right? But in this case, we sell our buyer to the
Yeah.
listing agent by communicating the listing agent.
Yes.
Remove all doubts that this transaction may all true. That make sure that they understand that we're gonna close. That it's a serious buyer, buy, and closing is a done deal.
So after we send the offer, what do we need to do right away?
All to verify that there is no.
Call and make sure they got it. Go over the terms. You might even call before you send the offer.
Yeah.
Over the terms. Position. Move both parties closer until you have a full agreement. This is done mainly verbally. You're finding out what they need, what we can do. They might say, we need $20,000 more, and you're like, okay. And you might raise the offer $10,000 and submit that in writing over to them. And then discuss, hey, we would love to do $20,000 more. In this case, the buyer's ability is to do $10,000 more. And have that discussion with them, right? But knowing what they need is very important. It helps you negotiate. All right, here's how we prepare, and we hit on some of these already. Know your goal. What does that mean?
Make sure you know what, that you really want to, that you want to make sure that the offer is accepted. That's the
Right.
goal.
Right? Your goal is to get it accepted, and your goal is to do what's best for your client, right? And knowing what they need, knowing their goals becomes your goal.
Yeah.
So which brings us to step 2 is know your client. Number 3, think ahead. Right? So like, let's say we get a counter offer that best and highest. We're already really high. We look at comps. Comps are showing $10,000 lower. How do we think ahead?
See what other contingency or terms we can adjust.
Yeah.
We can copy, but by that we have to contact the listener to see what is more important to the seller. It is the net or is the time.
Right. And then we need to think ahead as far as what could go wrong. What could go wrong in this situation? Wendell?
Lots of things that could go wrong. The lender has.
The lender could have an issue.
The appraisal doesn't come back what we expect.
The appraisal doesn't come back. And so with that, if we could think of a lot of things, we should be preparing our client and going to number 4 and set clear expectations. An expectation could be, hey, we're going $10,000 over all the sold comps in the area. Here's what could happen. What is that? What could happen?
Stay on the market still.
It can stay on the market if it's our seller. Or if it's our buyer and we're making offers $10,000 over and we're negotiating over the highest sold comp. We need them to know.
With 10,000 difference.
Yeah.
And they have to bring that into us.
That's right. Here's the expectation. If the appraisal doesn't come in, here's your option. 1, we can cancel the deal. I mean, you definitely don't want to do that, do you? Number 2, we can see if the seller will reduce the price. Number 3, we can come in with the difference. Number 4, we can negotiate and see if we can meet in the middle, or we can meet somewhere along that line. Those are the different things that we can ask for, that we can set expectations on. Here's what you can expect to happen next. That's why we think ahead, because we want to set those expectations. If you're not, and appraisal comes in low and you say, hey, $10,000 low, you need to come up with 10 grand if you want this house. Whoa, I had no idea.
Why you didn't tell me?
Right. So we set those expectations up front and we find out in each scenario, how would that affect them? Would it be possible for them to pay over? If this happens, then what's our next step? Do we want to try to negotiate it? Right? So we have to set those expectations, be very clear up front.
And talk to the listing agent, because normally when I see an overpriced property, I talk to them and say, my client really likes the house, but I am concerned about the price because I didn't find any comparables.
Right.
Do you have something that I didn't be able to find, or how you expect to, in case that the appraisal go over, to review
Yeah.
the value?
Now, let's say that it is, and the buyer wants to make the offer, you set the expectations of what could happen next, or do we say, hey, don't make that offer, it's dangerous, what do we do?
No, I always put the offer,
Make the offer.
I always make the offer, and then I say, okay, the only thing I can do to protect you is not remove the appraisal contingency.
Right.
If you don't have the money.
The appraisal contingency, right? Or if you want to make the offer stronger, you can remove the appraisal contingency, but we know that we're putting them at risk, but this is all part of negotiating. You have to think about the offer. What's my best scenario to get this offer accepted, and what risks, if I do that, will the potential buyer have to take on? And how would they handle it? Are they aware of their risk? Is that important? Everyone say, be aware.
Be aware
Of the risk.
Of
of the risk.
Obey the laws. That's simple, right? That's simple. Obey the laws. Let's obey the law. Know the documents inside and out. Let's keep going. Ask purposeful questions. Provides you with points you will negotiate on. Provides you insight. And here's the benefits of purposeful questions. Okay. It'll let you know what to negotiate. It'll give you insight and leverage with your client. It'll set clear expectations, allows you to know the goal, and it helps you learn what to do to make it a win-win. Open versus closed-end question. What's an open-ended question? Let's start. What's a closed-ended question? Yes or no answer. Give me an example of one. It's so easy that it's hard to think about. You know, it's so easy, right?
Do you understand that by rule with the appraisal contingency, if the appraisal came low, you cannot cancel the deal because of that?
Do you understand if the appraisal comes low, you can't cancel the deal? That's a yes or no question. Do you understand? Yes or no? That's close-ended. Okay? We want to use open-ended questions. A closed-ended question would be, do you need a big backyard? An open-ended question would be, what's important to you about the size of the backyard? You guys see the difference?
Like,
What's important to you about the size of the backyard? It's important for me to have a large backyard. What's important to you about a large backyard? Well, I have 2 dogs. So we always have to go back to the why, which then becomes the motivation. Does that make sense? Yes or yes?
Yes.
The why becomes their motivation. However, we don't ask why. We ask how and we ask what. Okay? How can we help you get a big backyard? What is important to you about a big backyard? Instead of why. I need a big backyard. Why?
What is?
Why does why sound bad?
Because you're questioning them, their decision.
You're questioning them, their decision. It sounds almost like it's a condescending question almost, because it's quite often in our life and the upbringing and experience in relationships that people say why, and it's almost like an insult, like,
Yeah.
why did you do this? Right?
Like a 3-year-old.
Like a 3-year-old, or sometimes a husband or wife, right? So we want to say, what was important to you about doing it this way?
Worries.
Right? What was the benefit of doing this? Make sense? Awesome. All right, somebody give me an example of an open-ended question.
I'm gonna stick with the appraisal, okay? So if the appraisal comes lower, what are your plans after that? Knowing that you cannot cancel because of that?
Mhm.
What are you plan to do?
Yep.
Or what your decision will be?
What do you plan to do? What if I said, oh, I think my credit's too low? With an open-ended question.
What made you say that?
What makes you say that? That's very important. Well, because you know, 680 just doesn't, I know a lot of people are buying houses at 700, so 680 probably won't do it. Right? But we know 680 would, but in their minds, they might think that. So we go, what would make you say that? What's a low credit score in your mind? Right? Any questions on open-ended questions? What are your questions? Any? What and why questions? What would happen if? Why is this important to you? I prefer what is important about this to you instead of why is this important to you? Or how would that benefit you? Or how would that challenge you? Make sense? Yes or yes? Awesome. All right, take action. Work with a partner, read the scenario, list clarifying questions to ask your client, apply your new knowledge to open and close questions. What are some of the scenarios on your paper? We can do these all together. Do we have it right there? If it's not in there, that's okay. We can make up a scenario. You got it? All right, let's read one of the scenarios out loud, someone.
You're representing a single buyer. Your client is renting her present property, like a first-time buyer. She's looking for you to guide her through this process. The asking price for the home she really loves is $175,000. The house appears to have evidence of roof leak, is listed as is, and is correctly priced. Your client would like to keep her payment as low as possible since she still has a number of student loans to pay off. She wants to write an offer for $155,000. There has been quite a bit of activity on the listing.
Okay, so now we're gonna use this scenario to ask open-ended questions. Now, there was a lot of meat in there as to what page is that?
18.6.
There's a lot of meat in there as to what we can ask, correct? What's one of the things that we should be asking?
For home warranty,
Say that again?
a home warranty.
Okay, asking a question. If I was that person, what would you ask me?
Would you be willing to submit an offer with the home warranty attached to it?
Okay, great. So that's good. I see where you're going because you said there's evidence of a possible leak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be, try to ask that same question using what or how or something more open-ended. That's not a yes or no answer.
How would it feel to you if we submit an offer with a home warranty?
Oh yeah, that would make me feel a lot better because of the roof leak, the possible roof leak. Or it could be getting a roof cert, right? How would you feel if we made an offer and we requested a roof cert with the offer to make sure that your roof wasn't leaking? Right, because if they're saying, oh, the roof's leaking, I'm scared. You say, perfect, I have a plan for that. Right? What else should we be asking?
Do you really like this house?
That's a close-ended. How can you open that question?
Okay. You don't wanna lose this house, do you?
Still yes or no, still close-ended, you're getting there.
How you gonna feel about if we don't get our offer accepted?
That's a lot better. What would happen if we didn't get our offer accepted? What would you do if our offer does not get accepted? Right? Or what do you love about this home? Or on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how high would you rank this home to match with your criteria? It's open-ended. You can't just answer yes or no. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Can you read anything else in there and think of any other questions? Go ahead.
The price,
Okay.
she's coming in with what she thinks is $155,000, that she thinks that she can do.
Right.
The question is, have you researched or looked into other programs with lenders who might have something like this system?
And then I answer no. That's yes or no. Let's turn into an open-ended question. That's good.
You would.
That's a yes or no. That's a yes or no. Would you be willing is yes or no. You're getting there. Just try to use what in the very beginning.
What's important to you about this price?
There you go. What's important to you about this price? What does that open up for us? It opens up dialogue. It opens up their motivation behind the price. They might say, well, at this price, it's the payment I need. Or at this price, it's all the lender says I can afford. Does that make sense? Instead of saying, would you, something like that, is this, those are all closed-ended questions. What's important to you about the price? What programs have you seen out there that may be able to help you? Right? So you just replace the beginning with what. If you throw in a what, it's going to force you to ask the question open-ended. What's the word?
What?
Good. 2, present. Best practices when presenting. Call the other agent. What is it? Yes. Call them, follow up, text them, call them. It is so important to follow up with them. You almost have to be more on top of them than if you have a ready, willing, and able lead. You need to stay on top of the other agent. It's going to help you negotiate. Call the other agent. Pay attention to the nonverbal cues like pauses and voice qualities. Okay? Pauses. Listen to the pause. And also, you need to pause. You don't have to fill in empty space. When it's uncomfortable, tell yourself, I'm uncomfortable with uncomfortable. And if you say that in your head, that at least will give you enough pause to wait for them to respond, whether it's your buyer, seller, or the other agent. Okay? And even says here, keep quiet once you present an offer. Let them respond. We don't have to be the ones always chatting. And sometimes that quiet time, that pause, allows them to feel a little uncomfortable, which then allows them to react. It allows them to think and respond. Listen carefully. What is important to the other party? We need to know this. What is important? We already talked about it. Stay calm and relaxed. Staying calm and relaxed is very important. Lead the conversation through tonality. If they're talking fast, you talk fast. Match their speed, then you either speed it up or slow it down. It's called mirroring and matching. Tonality. If they sound angry, you sound angry. It's not at them. You can use an angry voice without being angry with them. Oh my goodness, it's so frustrating. I get it. That's just mirror and matching. Then once you get on their level, you can do what's called a level shift. Okay? I need someone to come stand up here real quick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Someone come up here.
Okay.
Okay, Wendell's
I
doing
am
it.
here.
Let's do it. Okay, we have 2 people. We have 2 examples. Okay, you stand on this side. Okay. All right. Now, Wendell, you want to guide Gloria to that red chair. Guide her.
Hi, Gloria. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Great. You know, we have something over here by this chair here. I'd like you to see. Would you come over here?
So what are we doing over there?
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, stop. Right? Gloria, come back over here. Wendell, stay over there. Oh, we're going to do this. If I want to guide Wendell to that red chair, it's behind him. First of all, first thing that's going to happen is we're going to like walk toward each other, right? I might be walking toward. This is not going to get him to that chair. I'm going to have to turn him around, right? But that's uncomfortable for him. That feels aggressive. Right? So first thing I want to do is come over to Wendell. And I want to come beside him. Right? And sometimes this is a longer journey. Then I even grab his hand. And I'll guide him this way. And I can even walk around this way. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk in his direction. Then we're going to sway this way. It's easier to slightly turn someone around than it is to go 360, turn your body around. It's too shocking. Thank you so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the level shift. That's getting on their level. That's getting on their tonality. That's mirror and match. We're going to match them first. And then we're going to guide them where they need to go. Because if I just walk up the window and said the chair's over there, it doesn't feel like I'm guiding them, it just feels like I'm telling them what to do, where to go.
Go first on the same direction.
Get beside them first. See what they're looking at. See in the direction they're facing. If you can see what they're looking at, you can guide them to what you want them to look at. Make sense? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Stay calm, stay relaxed, focus on the customer's needs. Give your offer the best chance. When negotiating with a buyer, or let's say I'm a buyer's agent, right? I'm representing the buyer and I want to call the listing agent and say, hey, what does it take to get my offer accepted, right? Who will role play with me on this one real quick? Jenny, perfect. So Jenny, in this scenario, you have the listing, it's 500,000, and I want to get answers from you. You have a lot of interest in the house, and you're also not the type to give away all the information. Okay, so here's option number one. Okay, hey Jenny.
Hi, Thomas.
Hey, so yeah, your house on 123 Main Street looks great. What do I have to come in at to get the house?
Just submit your best offer.
Right, exactly. Now watch. Hey Jenny, how you doing?
Doing great, and yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Hey Jenny, after looking at this house, it's definitely checks off a lot of the boxes, not all of them, but most of the boxes for my buyer. And of course, I don't want to waste your time, Jenny. I definitely don't want to waste my time. So making a good offer or not making an offer would save us both time, wouldn't you agree?
Of course.
Perfect. So Jenny, I see that you have it priced at 500,000. How's the activity on it?
Tons of activity.
Tons of activity. Oh, wow. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I could tell you did great marketing on it, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's 500,000 now. Gosh, I mean, would 500,000 do?
I have higher than that.
You have higher than that. Gotcha. Now this is the wrong way. I'm gonna do the wrong way first. I'm gonna do the right way. What's your highest offer?
A little, I will say 20 over the asking price.
So I asked the wrong way, right? She told me 20 over the asking price because I think she already felt comfortable with me, right? Let's say, well, just submit it. What's your highest offer? Where do we need to be?
Just make it clean and better.
Make it clean better. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to waste any time, yours or mine. Your time is very important to me, by the way. If we were to make an offer at $510,000, would we hit a home run?
You might be closer.
We're getting closer. Ah, gotcha. Okay, so a little off. So if we came in at like 520, would we be at least, in the ballpark?
I would say you're one of the top ones right now.
See how I asked differently? I'm not asking what's the number. I'm giving her numbers. This number. And even if my buyer only could do 500,000, I'm still gonna ask this question because I want to know what they're thinking, what's happening with them. Then I'll go back to the buyer and say, hey, what it sounds like is they have a lot of activity and they're probably gonna get offers over the asking price. She really didn't want to tell me exactly what that was, but when I was asking through a series of qualifying questions, what I found is it sounds like we need to be somewhere around 520. Now, on a scale from 1 to 10, you said this house was a 10 and you wouldn't want to lose it. At $520,000, we're gonna have to find $20,000. What about $520,000 would make you want the house or to move on? I'm gonna have a conversation with the buyer. Is this something? Because again, if I write this offer, which you should always write offers, by the way, but if I write this offer, I don't want to waste her time or my time.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Then I might find out from this buyer, look, 520, I just can't do 515. I'm pushing it. I might call her back and say, hey, look, I know 520 is probably where we need to be. I got them as high as they can go. We're at 515, and you're an amazing agent. I do a great job when it comes to selling homes and that it's going to close. So whatever else we can do beyond just this price, please let me know. I'm sending you that offer.
Perfect.
Now, Jenny, tell me if I'm wasting your time if I send it and I just won't.
No, send it over.
Send it over. Right? If she had multiple offers over, she might say, it's probably not even worth it. Because she doesn't want to waste time on it if she has really good offers. But if it's close, send it over. Send it on over. Does that make sense?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Like, even though the market right now, it's not like what it used to be, and you still get agents telling you that
Telling me what?
it's multiple offers, that, that they have like way better offers than that.
That happened to me with the offer in the valley that we
Yeah.
tried to work.
Mhm.
The agent never called back, never until finally we submitted the counter. And he did call me back. He said, you know what, Sarah? I got 8 counters back. And the property went for above 520.
Yeah. Mhm. And sometimes they won't answer the phone. It's just a bad agent, probably, and that happens. And we want to put our buyers in the best position to get it. But yes, to answer your question, Jenny, it still does happen. It's not quite frequently. However, we can also use that to go lower. We can use the same thing, like, hey, I noticed at 500,000, we did notice some things that we're gonna have to put into the home. Am I wasting your time at 480? Or are we at least in the ballpark? Right? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
And then you could work it from there. Oh, yeah, you're absolutely wasting time at 480. Or just submit the offer, we'll see.
When they say that they have multiple offers, I always ask, if any of those offers that you have on the table, you representing one of the buyers or one of your members team?
Mhm.
Because I believe, if they already have somebody that they're representing, most likely they're gonna do the best.
To get that offer. accepted,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's good to ask the question. And also still good to submit the offer.
Mhm.
Now, not all agents are similar in the process to me, but if I have an offer from my team on one of my properties, I'm still gonna send in every single offer. I'm gonna negotiate what's best for my buyer, what's best for my seller. And if that's another offer, it's another offer. So, that's why I'm not one of those agents that double ends all of those deals. Because I wanna do what's right, what's ethical, what's gonna get my seller the
The
best
most value.
outcome. Yep. Ask what and how questions, we went over that. Know that positioning is a process. Know when to walk away. That's important. Know when to walk away and where your buyer's limits are. Take action, instructions, work your same partner, read the scenario, complete the role play. We did the role play. What are your ahas so far? Absolutely. And the more you talk to them, the more they get to know you. And the more comfortable they'll get with you.
Work on the same direction, wherever you're working with.
Huh.
Even if the listing agent, go on the direction. The listing agent job is to get the most of the seller, so go on that direction. What we can do to make a good win situation where my buyer can get the offer and you seller can get the most of.
Yeah.
them.
Yep, guide them by first looking in the direction that they're looking in. Seeing it from their perspective, being beside them. You don't have to say, yes, you're right, that's all, but you have to do stand next to them. Be in it with them. I love that. Any other ahas? All right, number 1, be professional. Number 2, keep your goal in mind. Number 3, pay attention to your communication and tone with anyone involved in the transaction. We have to be very mindful about our tonality, our aggressiveness. I very rarely lose it on the phone with anyone or in a conversation with agents. Very, very rare. Typically, you've had to have come at somebody that's on my team or in my office a certain way before but even then, I'm very mindful and careful to make sure I handle it the right way. And I'm careful with my tonality and how I have a conversation. All right. Yelling and arguing only turns to more yelling and arguing. Continually refer to your client's motivation, speaking with them. Again, I talked about this before. We're always referring back to the motivation. We're always referring back to the motivation. What's important to you about it? Sounds like you wanted to have a home with 4 bedrooms because one, you wanted a guest room that you can also have some workout equipment in. That was still important to you, right? Yes. Okay, perfect. This house has the 4 bedrooms. You wanted a backyard that was finished and not something you had to go in there and work on because you work a lot, right? Yes. You go back to their motivation, back, always go back to their motivation, especially when you're making the offer. Don't reveal too much. Listen more, then talk. Keep your client's motivation close to your chest. You need to know your client's motivation, but the other party, the listing agent or a buyer's agent, they don't need to know it, right? Or you need to be very careful about how you express that, so you are continually having leverage and not just them knowing everything. Don't be attached to the outcome. Right? And this is a hard one for our clients, our sellers and our buyers. They get attached to the outcome. We always want to let them know what's next and what the expectations are. You have a buyer accepted, here's their process. They have this many days for this contingency, this, and this. Here's what could happen. In a perfect transaction, this is how it'll flow. In an imperfect transaction, this is how it flows. I'll tell you, 99% of transactions are imperfect. So be ready for something to come up. We don't know what that is yet, and chances are something will. But that's why you have me, your agent, to protect you, to be there for you, and to make sure we help you get what you want. Don't reveal too much. Okay, we did that. Okay, we got it. All right. Daily success. Look at that. You guys, we crushed it. We definitely crushed it. Okay, so we have a few more minutes before I have to get on a Zoom meeting. What questions do you have? And it doesn't have to be about this class.
How long do you have to stay quiet after you submit an offer to the other agent?
Well, after you submit an offer, staying quiet, I wouldn't say necessarily stay quiet. When you're talking to them, the pause is important, right? I would call them before I submit the offer and after I submitted the offer.
With the offer I submitted, I then talked to him about the terms and conditions, and I submitted it this morning. He said, can your client go up on the asking price? I said, well, that's what he got pre-approved for, you know, so I let.
What else could you say to them? And are you texting, emailing, calling?
Texting, you know.
Texting, okay, there's no, calling is where you're gonna get better results on the conversation, on the negotiating process, right? So I will ask you the question, can your client go up? What are you gonna say?
Well, I talked to my lender and that's what he got pre-approved for.
So this is as high as you can go.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, you're gonna ask me the question. You're that other agent, I'm you. Go ahead and ask me the question.
Do you, was your client willing to go up on the asking price?
Well, it sounds like, your seller might be interested in a higher offer. What's important to your seller or you about getting, the offer to come up?
Because you asking $20,000 less than the original asking price.
Gotcha. Well, because we're asking for $20,000 less than the original asking price. Got it. And what's important to them about getting the asking price?
Try to sell the property.
To try to sell a property. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Sellers want to sell homes, right? That's why they put them on the market. Okay. And what is important to them about getting that specific price? What I've noticed is homes are actually going for a little bit less. I see that you've been on the market 30 days. And I want to be able to make sure that the buyer understands clearly their position in the negotiating process. So what's important to your client about getting that $500,000? Everybody say hi, Wendy. 1, 2, 3. Hi, Wendy. But Mike,
What's my motivation on getting the 500,000?
absolutely, yeah. What's important to them? Now, let me ask you this: what would happen in another 60 days if you didn't get an offer for full price? What would your seller decide to do? What do you think they would do?
Probably lower the price.
Probably lower the price. And if they lowered the price, would they be able to sell the house?
No, because it's been sitting on the market.
No, because now, if they were to lower the price, would they get enough money from the home to make the move they're looking for?
Yes.
Got it. You see, I'm asking these questions to figure out what is the situation of the buyer or the seller. What is the situation? It wasn't giving me much at first. When I ask them what's important about it, well, yeah, I mean, they want to get their list price. Of course they do. What's important to them about their list price? What is that going to do for them getting the list price? And if I'm still not getting it, well, will they even be able to sell it If it sits on the market and we have to lower the price, will we be able to sell it financially? Can they make the move? Does that make sense? We need to know that. In some way, shape, or form, and most people don't want to answer that question, or they want to hide that. That's why you gotta build that rapport and ask the right question. Right, I see that you're at 500,000, we're offering 480, absolutely, I completely understand where you're coming from. Now, do they actually have the ability to make the move based on this offer? Yes, they do have the, and a lot of them will say, yes, they do have the ability, but we've only been on the market for 14 days, but they are worried about making such a huge move out of state without having some extra money in their bank account. So we're gonna find out what is important to them about the offer. That make sense? We're good. Any other questions, or does that answer your questions? Good, awesome. What other questions do you have? We have a few minutes. I don't want to miss any questions. Who's gonna negotiate their offer differently than they used to? 2 people, 3 people, good. Right, 4 people. 4 people are 5. Everyone's like. This is how they raise their hand.
No, there's a lot of things that, you know, in addition to what I've been doing so far, that I can go beyond that to make sure that my offers are accepted.
Right, getting into the details, getting into what's important has so much more power when you're negotiating. You guys, we have approximately 1 more minute. What are the questions you have? You can ask me anything. Except for the color of my undies. Anything else, anything else?
What is your favorite food?
My favorite foods are typically Asian foods. I really enjoy that.
Okay, is
But I love all foods.
okay, when you say Asian food,
It's a pretty broad, yeah.
it's like Korean.
I love Korean
Taiwanese.
barbecue, I love pho, I love,
Favorite restaurant?
I don't really have a favorite restaurant. I love all food, it's just, most of the time I was like, oh, this is good, like, Din Tai Fung's pretty good. Yeah. Uh-huh. Any other questions? All right, you guys, I'm super excited for you guys to start winning more offers. A lot of things will change in your life as you start getting offers accepted. When you think that it's just the offer, why your offer's not getting accepted, it's not just the offer, it's also you.
Mhm.
It's also you. What can you do differently? How can you present the offer? How can you communicate with a seller or a buyer or an agent? How can you negotiate? How can you build confidence? How can you refer back to motivation? This relies on you, not just the offer. I've had offers accepted that were not the highest offer. It's not the highest offer all the time.
I want to start something. Last year, we submitted an offer on a piece of land for one of our clients. Brenda has helped me taking over with the Paulauskas. So she was communicating with one of the team members on the team, follow up with the offer. And she got the response that the seller was out of the country in Japan. So they're gonna answer as soon as they were able to communicate with the seller.
Okay.
So she keeps following every day because I say, the most you talk to them, they know that you can still interpret one, and our clients really is about it. And we are on top of our thing.
Right.
So I would say that that team member got tired of the calls and then we're gonna call you. You don't have to call us. We're gonna call you when we have an answer for you guys. We let them rest for a week. So a week, and a week after we follow up again. And they say, you know, we already have an offer at that time and this one.
Yep.
And wow, so the seller came back from Japan. The seller came back from Japan? The seller wasn't in Japan. So it was a big mess
Yeah.
with that team. And I don't want to name the team because I don't want to offend anybody.
Yep. No, for sure. I mean, again, going back to what you said, it's just asking the question in a different way is so important. And of course, staying on top of it regardless of, you know, oh, they're out of the country. Okay, do they have a phone? Do they have email?
Yeah.
You know, I'll even write the offer again and send it. I'll cancel my last one, write it up, withdrawing my last offer, and submit a whole nother one. Because I want to get in front of them. I need your attention. This is important. And my buyer needs to know that you didn't lose this offer because of me. Because a lot of times buyers get emotional and they think because they didn't get the first offer accepted or second offer, or because they've been working with an agent, they can't get an offer accepted. That's not necessarily true, but it does have some merit because your agent's important. And next thing you know, they're working with another agent.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today. I hope I helped you guys out today. Have a wonderful day. It is. This is a shorter one. And I have a.